All right, doing a little experimentation, so I didn't document any of the process of what I've been doing, but I've been saving a lot of plastic stuff that was destined for either the garbage or the recycling center, which is probably destined for the garbage. But you know what? You choose to believe what you want. I'm gonna try to do something else with recycling by making robots. So this is just a little piece of my experimentation stuff, right? So we'll start at the feet. These two little guys, these are the tops of the little smoothie pouches, or like little fruit pouches, right? Two of these, and then I got these little parts of the legs right here. These are part of the pump, part of the pump for the soap. You know what I'm saying? And then tubes on the inside, and then we've got other pieces of pump for the legs. Up underneath, there's just a little piece of ABS plastic that I broke, and this is part of my experimentation with super glue. Oh my guy! Speaking of super glue, it's pretty robust when you mix it with a little bit of the white powder. So, you know, it's all good. We moving on up, right? We've got the this is just like a pill bottle. This piece right here, this little cross, it had like a piece jutting out that was like pretty long, and I didn't want it that long, so I actually cut it out. It was this piece right here. So you see that? It's pretty long, and this would have been like coming out like close to like the forearm. So I was like, no, I'll cut that out, and it's gonna be spray painted later, so that's another piece of ABS. But the cross hatch piece right there in the front, that is the bottom, no, that's the top of where your deodorant comes out, right? The bar deodorant. Little circles on circles, circles and circles. These are just pieces of tube that are just cut concentrically. This little piece right here is rigid. This is zip tie. That's just zip tie, right? So it's gonna add some rigidity, but only with rigidness. Wires right here. Side piece, this is coming out for the wires going into the little the chesticles, and this is just a button from a kid's toy. I can't remember what it is. These pieces right here, these are from the Final Faction Alpha Team Uno. Not Alpha Team 1, but Alpha Team Uno, because this is from the Mexican dollar store. Other tubes right here, and then we've got another piece of a pump on the inside of the hand right here. And so since this piece, that's not even glued. This piece right here is just coupled together with friction. But I did add a dab of glue with some of the white powder on the inside here. The hand is just a piece of moldable wire that is connected with this right here. This is just a tube, and I just cut little pieces off. I believe this is from a pen. That's just from the inside of like a ballpoint pen. So that's the left arm, or the right arm. Your left, the robot's right. Going into this other side, I have another juice thingy right here, but this one's like super deep. And so I put a piece of super glue on the inside here for another piece of tube coming to the outside of another tube, which is part of a pump of a soap dispenser. And then they got the Final Faction right here. This is the end of just a ballpoint pen from the end bit of the tube. And then I've got, you recognize this. This is just wires. But the back part right here, this is just the glue, right? The Elmer's glue, split in half. The butt is another piece of zip tie. This little guy right here in the top, I'm not sure what this piece came from, but it is, this is actually this was one piece. The inner part right here was the top of the head. And then this part right here is just the outside bit that it's kind of coupled to is or concentrically coupled to is the top of a toothpaste top, right? So we cut the top of that. You can see the roughness right here, but that's just that. Wires, these just came from an old phone charger that doesn't work anymore, so it's just like, you know, whatever. The head piece right here, let's talk about head. This white piece on the bottom right here, this came off, this was the shampoo top. So this piece came off of, you can see where I cut it around here, because I didn't want it this big. I just wanted a piece to just kind of pop out like this right here, right? So that's the bottom piece. The top piece is the lid for a spray bottle. The top, like I said, I can't remember where this little piece came from, but it's just part of the back right there. So that is what it is. And then this piece right here, this was a button for not a radio, but sort of like playback device. It didn't work. It was fried. Like I don't mean like, hey, there's some corrosion on the battery terminals fried, but it was like something exploded in there because it was like all black and grody. I think one of the capacitors exploded, and then it like had gone around to the other pieces of the electronic components. The electrics. All right, so I took the button, I just drilled a little right there, and then I popped it in from the inside before gluing the head to the neck and shoulders. The head and shoulders. So that's that, man. So we're gonna, I scratched this up with a little piece of Booyah right here, right? That's some sandpaper. I've also got some more sandpaper here. This was in the trash. This was in my trash because it's like, I mean, look at that, dude, it's nasty. So that is what it is, but we're gonna get this guy situated, and then I'm gonna prime it and then paint it to the best of my ability, and then we'll see what happens. All right, so I got this guy scratched up. I just used like some fine grit sandpaper. You can also use some like emery board or little strips of sandpaper just to make sure that everything's scuffed up so you can prime it properly, like so. Make sure that you block off any spots that you don't want painted. Like I didn't want the eye piece turned gray with primer, or paint at all rather, because it looks pretty slick by itself. So I just used some painter's tape just to get it, you know, isolated. Now what I want to do is add a little bit of color in here. I don't want to go too crazy because I know like some folks can get like, you know, super going down a rabbit hole with paint and stuff like this. So I just have some acrylic paint and I have some green, and I'm just going to go over some certain spots on the chest area. I'm also utilizing a little bit of, I'm going to utilize some blue like near the gun, quote unquote, the gun parts, just to try to give it some, hey, you know, like this has been fired off and it blued up the gun tip. Yeah, that makes sense. So again, with the chest, just adding some green, and the little thruster bits, or I don't know, power supply, whatever you want to call it, on the back, I added some green to that too. And then I have some orangey bits. I'm just trying to wipe off a little bit of the excess paint in a kind of like a dry brushing technique. And since I'm super new at this, I'm just kind of playing it by ear, but there are plenty of other options online that you can, like, you know, check out some super detailed stuff. I just wanted to, you know, have a go at it just because why not, you know? Get out of my comfort zone a little bit, get into some new depths of hobbying and whatnot. So anyways, the little rusty bits, you try to think about like different spots that are going to have rust on it, right? So the little coupler piece in the front, these little zip tie gritty pieces in the back, maybe like rain collects and it just pulls up behind the spot in the front and the back right here. So this little piece has a little dip, right? It has like a quote-unquote tray, so to speak. So I figured that was going to be pretty rusty as well. And if you're marching against against or with the rain, you know, or something, I don't know. I'm just trying to think what parts are gonna rustify, and just, you know, again, not going nuts, just doing a dry brush, trying to unload as much paint as I can before putting it on, and you know, maybe like they're disabled or something, or shut down for a while, and their rust was just dripping down the back. I don't know. This is just what I'm thinking about. One thing in hindsight about the paint, though, is like you can see on the back where the wires are coming out. Kind of wish that I would have not painted them and just had them as different color wires. But at the same time, I kind of like the wiring scheme also being just grayed out, and they'll weather as well, you know. So then I figured while I had the blue, I would just try to put some scratchy marks, you know, like they're moving their arms back and forth so much, maybe it's scraping against their sides, and then just blue it up a little bit. Just dry brushing the tops there, or the shoulders rather, like the little shoulder support pieces or whatever. And then I started to green up the top, and I was trying to like weather it with the green acrylic with like a 50-50 mix of the green paint and the and water. But I didn't really like it too much, and I was like, well, you know, you can always scrape it away while it's still wet, so that's not a big deal. I was also really concerned about the eyepiece as well. I didn't want it to get painted over by accident, and I wanted that to maintain its, you know, its color and transparency like that. So, and I just started wiping it away, and I'm using a paper towel, which, not the best course. If you have it, use like a lint-free cloth, or even like a torn up old t-shirt or something, just to make sure that you don't scrape all these different little, you know, dust bunnies everywhere. And then so that looks pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with the color. I don't want to get too crazy. Just trying to fan it, you know. And then I have some black right here. This is just black acrylic paint. It's ebony. I wanted it to be pretty jet black, you know. And I didn't find any jet black. Not like the dude from Cowboy Bebop, you know, but the actual paint to color. So what I'm going to go do here is just kind of lay it on thick in terms of my weathering. And this is just a 50-50 mix, just like I did with the green earlier. It's 50 paint and 50 water. And then we just mix it up and just slather it on pretty thick. I'm using a flat fanned out kind of brush. Not like a fan brush, but it's not a fine tip, you know what I mean? So that way I can just lay it on thick. And then I kind of do like a piece by piece. I'll go by doing the head and shoulders, you know, like, I don't know. Seems like a shampoo company might want to do, you know, get into that kind of business, head and shoulders, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, like the, go in, wipe it off, and again, use like a lint-free cloth. Don't use a paper towel. It's very cumbersome because it kind of gets sticky. And then, yeah, look at that, down the barrel. But unfortunately, it broke whenever I was trying to weather the gun. But anyways, we can repair that. That's not a big deal. And it was just kind of press fit anyway, so yeah, he's pissed, so to speak. But then just go through, try to use a heat gun. I would probably recommend not using the heat gun, even at low heat with a little bit of distance. I mean, you have to put a lot of distance on it, but it started to, I don't know, like temper the paint a little bit, like the primer even, and I didn't really like the color change or the shade change. So I would probably recommend doing more like a blow dryer. But here we go. This is my little guy, right? He looks pretty weathered, a little beat up, little spots of color, but I didn't want it to be too crazy. You could also go with like a metallic acrylic paint to try to weather it a little bit to add some shininess. Unfortunately, I had a problem with my base with the glue up. Like, make sure that your guy stands up by itself. You can see the space there, but I just got a little piece of wood just to yakisugi a little bit, shirsugi-ban, whatever you want to call it. That way it's, you know, pretty slick. I could have gone nuts with like some sand or some other texture, but I chose not to at this point. And there we go. I got my little guy on display, and it was pretty cool. It was a pretty fun build, just like trying to put piece parts together. So I'll see you on the next one. Peace.